Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow, of course. Dusty Hanshaw in that corner, the producer, Scott McNally. And on today's show, we have a guest. Whenever we can con somebody into sitting in with us, we got Chris Tuttle for the second time. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's awesome. I love talking to you guys.
I looked back, and you were on episode 35.
Wow, it's a long time ago.
It's 3 years ago? 3 years?
Yeah, Scott wasn't even here. He was just sitting.
I was in the background.
Yeah, he was invisible.
Background. Yeah, invisible. Scott wasn't even part of the. Scott wasn't saving our show yet.
Yeah, exactly. We were pummeling quickly, and he
It was
dove
just me
back.
and Dusty getting repetitive and redundant week after week. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
That he had to step in and help us out. So yeah, that was a long time ago. It was a different time then, Chris. 3 years ago.
And you know what's funny you say that is 3 years is not a long time, but a lot has happened in 3 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yes. And one of the things that has happened is Dusty and I have developed this thing we do: like, share, subscribe, comment, and
Ring the bell.
yes.
moment.
And
All I
of
got.
course, before we get going, of course, IamMutant.com. Get your all in, get your ISO surge. And everybody, even us retired guys, should get on the gear.
Lots of gear.
That's right.
Lots of gear. Okay. Dusty 20, Big Ron 20. Okay, Chris. What is new and what's on your mind? I'll just give you kind of an open mic to start.
Well, I mean, man, from going from 3 years ago till now, it's like I was all about shooting to compete in the open and then decided I wasn't going to do that anymore based on how I felt and at my age. I'm like, this is probably a wise decision at this point to not push it any further and get heavier, and how many limitations I had with training from just overuse injuries and just beat up. So I decided to stop. Initially when you go to stop, I'm sure both you guys felt this at first. You're like, instant relief. This is great. Freedom. And then all of a sudden, 2 months go by and you're like, oh shit. Kind of feel down. Kind of feel like lack of direction or lack of focus. That excitement getting up every day is a little different. You don't have that. Bodybuilding is so encompassing, right? It's like encompassing every day. You have a goal and a mission every day. There's not a lot of sports or interests that do that take that same focus. And dabbled in boxing, did boxing for a bit, and try to find something else I was really interested in. And I did it for a while. It was really hard, especially being a bigger guy, and then boxing, little guys just smoke the shit out of me all the time. They just wait till I'm tired. The second I'm tired, I can't even put my arms up to protect my face anymore, and they just whack, 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 And but I got better at it, and that was still fun, but it wasn't the same. It didn't grab me like bodybuilding did. It didn't grab me like some of my interests did when I was younger. And from there, I continued to downsize my body weight from 240 down to 230, and then 220. And then I was kind of having a tough time, a struggle trying to find that same drive and focus, because as you guys know, being into bodybuilding and it being encompassing, you have a purpose every day. And when you don't have that distinct purpose, that drive, that focus, it seems like everything else seems to suffer a little bit more.
Right.
I remember even when I was prepping and coaching other people, I was super focused on my clients, answer emails from 8 a.m. to 9, and then I'm gonna go to the gym, and I'm gonna come back and go for a walk, and then answer emails and this, and then every day was scheduled and regimented. And now it's kind of I'm forcing myself to stick to a schedule that I didn't need to.
Right.
And that honestly, that's a difficult thing. And then I kind of said to myself, maybe I should try different things. And my wife's into ballroom dancing, so I did some ballroom dancing, even though I hate dancing and I didn't like it. But it's something that is difficult. I've never tried it, and maybe I hate it because I'm not good at it. So I tried to do that a little bit, and it was cool to learn and see yourself getting better. But it's very expensive. Didn't really grab me the same way. And I was boxing during that time. And then I'm like, you know what? Actually, one of my close friends, this lesbian chick in my neighborhood, she came over with a motorcycle. She races street. And she's like, Chris, check out my new racing street bike. And I'm like, let me see that thing. Because I used to stunt back in 04, do 12 o'clocks and get chased by police and do all that crazy stuff. And I'm like, give me that bike. Let me see that. I rip around the neighborhood and I'm like, man, getting a motorcycle again, that'd be amazing. And she's like, you got to get one. I'm like, nope, too old for that shit. I can't do that. I'm going to get myself into trouble. I can't. I go in the house. I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, man, that was a lot of fun. It kind of brings you back right away to being a kid, right? You know, it's like, Ron, I know you, it's like getting back on the bike. It's like when you're out doing stunts on your bike, you're not thinking about anything else but what you're doing.
Yeah. You're absolutely present.
Right. Absolutely present. And it takes you back. And then like a week later, she comes over with this KLX 140. She's like, look at this bike I got. Pick it up on Facebook Marketplace for like $1,400. I'm like, let me see that thing. So I start ripping around the neighborhood. I'm like, maybe I'll get a little dirt bike and I'll just ride around with you around the neighborhood. And I went out like 2 days later, picked up a brand new one, a helmet. And I got back and it was nighttime. And I'm like, damn, it's nighttime. I'll ride this thing. So I don't know about you guys, but I have night vision, the full nods.
You're kidding me. You're freaking kidding me. What do you have?
I have the, what is it? The White Foss Gen 4.
Okay. Yeah. Son of a bitch. I hate you now.
It was a lot of money. It was like $6,000.
It's amazing though. It's amazing though.
She's like, do you need that? I'm like, no.
No, of course not.
I can have it. I can have it.
Talk to my wife for me. Do me a favor. Talk to my wife for
me. Yeah, I should pitch it to him like, hey, like this is I know like you accept that I'm kind of like into like prepping and like doomsday in the world shit. But,
okay.
Like if you have the ability to see at night, I go, your tactical advantage is going to go way up.
Yeah. Own the night.
Yeah, we own the night. So I come home with it, and she's like, "What are you doing? It's nighttime." I'm like, "Not anymore." I put the night vision on. I went down through my neighborhood, and it's like ripping through the woods with night vision. And like, what's really funny is like people are walking their dogs. They're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And also, like when you say your neighborhood, I have questions. Like, most people can't buy a dirt bike and rip around their neighborhood. So your neighborhood sounds like it's kind of got like rural areas in it. Is that what you mean?
I'm in Texas, dude. People are cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Cool. They don't care. I mean, like, I'm also not a dick, but they don't care. I mean, there's other kids that ride their dirt bike or their side by side or their quad. And I hear them tearing on the street. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I love it.
They just think, oh, kids being kids. You know what I mean?
It's like the 70s all over again.
You know what's funny? It's kind of more like that. Like when I was in Connecticut and I pull my bike out of my garage and like I'm warming it up, like the neighbors come out and they're like, oh, like upset, they're like, ugh. And then now like
I didn't vote for this.
Yeah. The houses here I live in my neighborhood, it's a very nice, very upper scale neighborhood, and the houses are very close together. Like I'm on like a quarter acre, if that. And like I'll be revving my bike and neighbors come out like, hey, how's it going, Chris? Going riding today? They're that kind of cool. So had the KLX, dude, ripping around, having fun. I'm like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. I can't believe I ever stopped riding for 21 years. But you know how it is being a bigger guy and a kid dirt bike. And I'm like, I need a bigger bike.
It was a gateway motorcycle.
The first taste is free, kind of.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So what size bike was this? It was a KLX
KLX 140. So it's designed for a kid or a small adult that's between like 100 and maybe 95 to like 115 pounds.
Okay.
Right.
And I was like, with gear, I was like 235.
In the middle of the night with the night vision on.
My last bike was a Suzuki 125 dirt bike.
Yeah, the R125.
That's what I had like when I was like, up until I left home. So yeah, that was what I used to ride around the farm on.
Yeah, Ron. So XRs, right? XR 100. Remember those old 4-stroke lugs? So a KLX 140 is in the same line of like an XR. So it's not very fast. Doesn't have the better suspension. So like
it was just a great all-purpose dirt bike for a kid on a farm,
Yeah, correct. Or rather,
I don't think it ever broke. I don't think it ever required a single moment of maintenance ever.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. So I had that for 3 months, and I was like riding more and more, looking forward to it. Nicole would be like, "I'm out of work in an hour." I'm like a little kid. I'm like, "Shit." All right, I'll be done. I'll be done an hour and 15 minutes. I'll get done as fast as I can. I'm like Lexi, I'm going out. And like run outside, and she's like at my driveway in her dirt bike, and we like tear down the street, and we go through trails and shit. And then I'm like, I got to get a bigger bike. And then one day I messaged her. I'm like, hey, do you want to go look at dirt bikes with me? And she's like, fuck yeah, I do. So she comes with me. We go to the KTM dealership, and I'm looking at like all these bikes. And you know, when you get older, like you're a kid still, but you have adult money.
Exactly.
So I'm looking at these bikes, and I'm like looking at the KTM 350 XCF factory edition. It comes like all specced out, and I'm like, oh wow. I go, that bike, man. How often do you get those bikes in? He goes, oh, we only get one every 6 months because they generally go pretty quick and they're all on the expensive side. And I'm like, yeah. Do you guys have like a discount for cash or up front? He goes, we generally don't. I'm like, okay. Like, what's the finance? Yeah, what's the financing rate? You know? And I'm like, I go to Nicole. I'm like, Nicole, you think I should get it? And she's like, fuck yeah, you should.
I think this is more of an advertisement for having a lesbian friend than it is for having a dirt bike.
Dude, she's legit. She's legit. So I call my wife from the dealership. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I get a bike? Another bike? She's like, another one? I'm like, yeah, what's this? A bigger bike. It's a good deal. She's like, how much is it? I'm like, it's like $13,500. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, yes. I get the bike, bring it home. And that's how it started, dude. And like now it's just like, now I'm riding motocross as much as I can. Come to find out, there's like 6 motocross tracks within an hour drive of my house, and some of them are lit up at night, like a football stadium lit up.
That's amazing.
Pay $30 and you can ride the night. And now I've been riding, and it's been an epic blast. But I have to say, getting back on the bike after 21 years, Ron, you're gonna have to tell me about your transition back. It was a little rough. I'm not gonna lie. It was very rough because I remember how fast I used to go. Because I raced at a professional level for half a season, and I remember getting back on the bike. I'm like, oh, I remember this shit. And your body's like, no, you don't. And I'm tired, making mistakes, hitting my head in the handlebars. I'm like, oh, I better slow down. Like, I'm gonna like break a femur or something. But I still had a lot of fun, getting better and better. I did take a real hard fall, which I'll tell you guys in a minute. But Ron, when you got back on the bike, were you like, I remember this, but the skills were rusty, right?
I remember the very first day when I put it together, because I built my bike. I ordered all the parts separate, and I built it, and I was like, okay. And I took it out in the parking lot by my condo, and I just said, you know what? I bet I can still do. It's called an infinity roll, which is just like a backwards roll in a circle on both wheels. It's just a simple like beginner trick. And I was like, I wonder if I could still do an infinity roll. So I did like a little endo, and I did it one circle, and I rode out of it.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, 33 years. 33 years I haven't been on a bike.
And 33 years?
33 years. And I had not been on a bike. Like I had not ridden a mountain bike. I had not taken a 10-speed, a block. I had not gotten on a mountain bike and pedaled a block. I had not ridden a bicycle at all for 1 second for 33 years. And I got back on and did one circle backwards and rode out. And I was like, oh my God. And Emily was there. She filmed it. And I was like, I got a trick in the bag already. One trick. And then it took like 2 months to pull a tail whip. And it took like another like month to pull like another trick. And I slowly got a couple back. And within 6 months, I had like 4 tricks, you know, like it was just the amount of fun it was just, and it's just the presence and how like you are complete, like you are not on your friggin' phone.
Yeah. Oh my God. I hate the phone.
You are just like, that is the most separated I get from my phone the entire week is if I'm on that thing.
It's the most gratifying feeling in the world. It's not as encompassing as it was when we were doing it, but it's way better to do that as an adult than to like pretend to go do something that's going to give you that same relief. You know what I mean? And hoping it does.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just more fascinated at the fact, as I was listening to your story, Chris, that it took me back to like childhood of just the neighbor kid showing up in the front yard with whatever activity was happening. And like, instead of yelling into mom, you're like, honey, can I go play?
Yeah, the parallels are awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's honestly just like that because I hear Nicole revving the engine, and I get a text message. She's like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, shit. And I'm like, Lexi, what time do you want to eat dinner? And she's like, 9 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I'll be back for her then. Go downstairs, put my shoes on, my shit, and go out the door.
See, at my house, I was the opposite, Chris, because I decided to get back to Harleys a couple years ago, and I convinced a friend that he needs to take up motorcycle riding for the first time. You know, so
great.
I get him through the classes. He gets passed and everything, and then one day I shoot him a text message. I'm like, "So here's the thing, you gotta trust me. Send." And my phone rings immediately. He goes, How much is this going to cost me? I'm like, 15 grand. But I mean, it's a good deal. And I believe it was 24 hours later, he had spent the 15 grand and we were off to the races.
Yeah.
But you know, it's 15 grand of investing in a greater quality of life.
Exactly. That was my sales pitch. I went all in, you know, it's like, listen, you can do that, or you can ease in for 10 and then lose 4 grand trading it. And just come with me. Just take my hand. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Right.
Thankfully, he's not married or anything, so I didn't have to worry about anybody saying no. I just had to convince him, so it was easier.
Yeah. What size bike are you on now? Like, what are you riding now?
Oh my God, I went out and I bought a third one.
It's getting better.
Are you collecting them? Are you stacking them in the garage?
I'll tell you that progression. So I talked to Evan the other day. He's like, dude, how's everything going? I'm like, good, man. I'm just like, having adult money's bad because like now I'm like, all these parts that I wanted was a kid. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to upgrade those rims. Do I need to upgrade those rims? No, but I can. It's like, they look cool. Like, do I need a new pipe? No. Does it need to be louder? No, but it'd be cooler if it was louder, you know? But I just want to comment about like muscle memory. It's like we always talk about muscle memory with bodybuilding, right? It takes 10 years to build a certain physique. Then you taper it down and then you go back and it's much shorter time to get it. Same thing with skills. It's like, think how long it took you to learn those tricks. And then all of a sudden, for 33 years of absence, I can do that, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only difference though, is you're definitely more reserved while doing them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not as brave, like for just, you know, going for stuff right away. I really ease into it. Like I really feel things out before I commit to like trying something. I gotta like, you know, try to just like, I just slamming sucks, man. I've had some hard slams where I laid on my back and thought, holy shit, I wonder if everything still moves. And you're like, wiggling everything. You're like, okay, everything still moves, you know?
Oh, so dude, I used to be the guy that would roll the track once and then jump every jump the second lap thereafter. Now I go around the track a bunch of times and be like, then I'm like the first lap, I might jump 2 jumps. The next one, maybe 50% of them. Third lap, 75%. And there'd be a couple hairy jumps that are really big. It might be like 8 laps before I'm doing all of them, and the rest of the day I'm doing all of them. You know, break myself in, time it out, instead of just being like, "That's third gear." You know.
You know what I think though? I think all this stuff is so important as we age for our brains. You know, I started getting into like competitive shooting, tactical shooting, stuff like that, and it's like. It's like it forces your brain to do something it's not used to doing. And I feel like, so here's the thing, like when we were kids, you know, summer would feel like an eternity. You know what I mean? Like summer vacations here, it's literally only like 2-3 months, right? But, and then you're back in school, but it felt like a lifetime. It's because like every day we were doing different things. We're creating like new neural pathways and having all these different adventures versus nowadays you can be like, oh man, it's been 3 years. I can't believe it. It feels like it's been, you know, length of a summer vacation, right? But it's like doing things that are different, forcing yourself to think in different ways, use your body in different ways, all that stuff. I think that's what keeps us young. It staves off like, you know, Alzheimer's, all that stuff. You know, I think it's super important to continue doing things just like you're talking about.
Oh, I love all that shit. All that, like the links to dementia that they're finding with with lack of activity and lack of learning new things and all that sort of stuff is we're just figuring all this out. But you're ahead of the curve if you're doing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you got to replace your busyness with something, you know? I mean, but you guys will laugh, but the guy who I bought my first business from, when he owned the stores, he was a great bodybuilder. He got back into motocross. And he said when he starts going to the track and he started getting good and he's showing his wife videos and she's thinking of long term. He goes, I go to the track one day. I go to put my helmet on. He goes, I lift it up and I look inside, and there's a note that says, "You're a business owner." Right in the top that she put on the inside.
Don't forget.
He just read it and he goes, "Oh, good point." And he goes, I was a little more cautious that day after reading her little love note left in my helmet.
Yeah.
I know. I think about that too. That's that old, mature brain. But like the Alzheimer's thing, it's like, as adults, how many adults end up falling into that routine of doing the same thing every day, week after week, month after month, and there's no new stimulus, nor do they even want to try something new? But like, you're 100% right.
Yeah. That's not what I want to be. I want to keep doing new stuff. You're into shooting too, aren't you?
Yeah. I have a whole mess of weapons.
What do you do? What's your jam? I think I've seen some competitive stuff, like USPSA or
video. It's kind of a cheater gun. It's the Sig Sauer 320 Legion.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Size. It's heavy. It's 9 millimeters, so like it feels and shoots like a 1911. So like you're deadly accurate with it, even if you're like, you know, double tap or you're 4 shots in a row or 5 shots in a row. It's like that muzzle returns right away. And it's like, you know, you did try to do it with a Glock or a lighter gun. It's a little different. You know what I mean?
And can you do the carry optics with that? Like that's the Division carry optics? Okay. Yeah. So versus like the open guns for people who aren't shooting, like you can get those crazy race guns that the only problem is like then you really have to be a pro to be, you know, to be competitive with those guys once you get to that level.
It's fun. And as you know, in Texas, it's like, there's shooting ranges like there's Dunkin' Donuts in the Northeast. You know,
I got to move to Texas, guys.
There's like a lot of practical places. Like obviously, many people don't know the majority of the retired Special Forces guys live in Texas. So a lot of them have, we do this camp on a Saturday. We'll teach you how to shoot and move or how to shoot from a vehicle. So
I want to do that shit.
Yeah, so I've done all those classes and Mike Glover's classes, and I've met one of the instructors from Mike Glover's class, and I do private lessons with him sometimes. And that I like one-on-one stuff. I'll pay the extra money. It's like, dude, I rather like shoot, 1,000 rounds in 2 hours and spend the entire day shooting in a class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just get one-on-one and then do everything from there. But run all the drills. It's a lot of fun.
I've got a place that's just 10 minutes away. I do classes, and it's just because that's what's available. And since it's a range, you know, like a indoor range, they can't shut it down for me to do one-on-one. But I have slipped in once in a while to do. I agree with you 100%. It's fun, man, and it's crazy. Another one of those things of like the neural pathways, the stress that you're under. Once you hear the beep, you know, and you're on a timer and now you're trying to do like extremely intricate things, move quickly and use like really fine dexterity all at once. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I had a Navy SEAL guy and he was always about like fundamentals in the beginning of the class. And then he's like, all right, dude, I'm just going to push you now. And then he would throw shells at my head. He'd flick me in the air.
Yeah.
And like I'd be shooting and he like punched me in the kidneys and punch me and then push me.
Yeah.
And he's like, as I'm going, you know?
So have you done this stuff like shooting from a car, stuff like that?
Yeah. You can do that here. There's places where like there's cars, a fuselage plane, plane fuselage, a shoot house.
Yeah.
They have all the scenarios all set up. But a couple places allow you to drive your car on to the range, provided you're with one of the instructors, and then like you can get out of your car and etc.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I remember Branch was telling me about like the class that he has. I guess he's got a class that he has on his land.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they was like they teach you how to shoot through the windshield and stuff.
Yes.
Like that sort of shit. So like
because the trajectory changes. They always say punch the first hole and then shoot through the hole.
Yeah. I mean, that's just awesome. As a proud Canadian gun owner, there's not enough of us.
One of the 15.
Yeah. Oh no, there's a lot of us, but there should be more of us. And
Antoine's got a gun now. I know Antoine's got a rifle.
Right.
Does he?
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. I got a Glock.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm a restricted firearms permit holder. My government has allowed me to own a restricted firearm.
Oh, that's good. You got that before that ban, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Just in time.
Right around the time that he had the ban, South Carolina said, you should do whatever you want. There's no like literally they don't even have, I mean, you don't even need a permit to like conceal, not conceal. If you have a gun, you have a gun. Good for you.
It's a Second Amendment, pure Second Amendment state. Yeah.
Constitutional carry. I love that.
I was very proud of, I found an old video on my phone from Vegas where I was at Battlefield.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I sent it to Scott and Dusty. I was very proud of my tight cluster on that. I was using the SIG, and I was very happy with that cluster. The guys I was with, it was a bachelor party, and it was a big group of guys who went to Battlefield. And I hadn't shot in a while. And, you know, the old farm kid in me just kicked in, and I was just beading everything. Tight clusters with the AK-47. I had good clusters with all the rifles and the handguns. And the guys I was with were pretty impressed. They're like, damn, I can shoot.
He's a natural. Well, you're a farm kid. You're supposed to be able to do all that stuff.
Yeah. You know?
Shooting's a lot of fun. And luckily, I mean, ammunition's a little expensive now, but I stocked up big time beforehand, so I was good, you know.
Nice.
But it's a good experience. It's just, there's so much to it, and then once you start doing it, just like anything, you want to do it all the time, then you're like, man, every round is like 12 cents, you know. You're shooting every round.
How many do you have? How many firearms do you have?
I'm not fully going to disclose that, but I have enough.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Works down here.
I'll tell you this. I have an AR style rifle modified for every purpose. One for close quarters combat, one for nighttime, and one for daytime. So the daytime's got a longer barrel, different optic, and then I have a shorter barrel with an EOTech for indoors, and then I have a nighttime rifle which has an IR laser that you can operate with the night vision.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
you carry that one when you're dirt biking at night.
Yeah. Just in case in Texas.
I mean, you could. You know what's funny?
I want to see you dirt biking with a rifle on your back. Like,
I got pulled over. I was picking up my wife in the stockyard. She was heavily intoxicated. And I kind of took a right on red. And the cop pulled me over. I'm like, hey, man, I'm just letting you know, I got a gun in the car. And he's just like, okay, whatever. Where are you going? Like, didn't care. He's like, whatever. Okay.
Obviously, you're in Texas.
Don't reach for it. Don't reach for it. You know,
right?
And he's like, "Where are you headed?" I'm like, "Pick up my wife. She's drunk." She's like, "Oh, you're picking her up and you're sober?" Like, yeah. He goes, "Yeah, go ahead, get out of here." I'm like, "Okay."
Texas is so awesome because they passed a law where you can own a suppressor without having to do a bunch of extra paperwork as long as it's from Texas, right?
I don't know about that one unless that's recent. I know getting suppressor. I have one. I have suppressors for a couple of my weapons, but like. I had to go through that old big deal in Connecticut. The tax stamp wait almost a year and a half to get it, and then you get it, etc. I don't know the current ones. I haven't bought anything new in a while. I've been spending all my funding towards dirt bikes. You know,
you can only do one thing at a time, right?
Yeah. But back to that. So I got the 140, then I got the KTM, and then there's a KTM 350. So it's a cross country bike, not technically motocross bike, but you could, you know, it has one extra gear, has a bigger fuel tank, and that's really only the real differences. And the bike's fast as fuck. But KTM is an Austrian bike. So the Austrian bikes generally say that they feel rigid and they have a different type of handling, but the engine's just second to none. So I'm riding that. I love it. And then the new Yamaha comes out, 250F 50th anniversary edition. And I'm like, man, maybe I should get that bike. I ride the bike at the track, somebody else's bike. And I'm like, man, this bike handles like it's so limber and tight. I'm like, I got to get one of these. So, hey, Lexia, can I get another dirt bike? So I ended up selling the KLX, and which is, you know, very cheap bike. It was like brand new. It was like $3,400, and then got rid of that. And then now I have a Yamaha 250F and then a KTM, and I go back and forth. And people go, "Why do you have two bikes?" I'm like, "Well, what if one doesn't work?" And then I got rid of the other one to ride.
There's always great logic there. I don't need people to slow me down with their thought processes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because I can fit more than one in the garage. That's what it is.
I bring two bikes to the track all the time, and people always goes, "Why'd you bring two bikes?" I'm like, well, what if I get to the track and I get a flat tire? Then it's a whole day of riding that I can't ride. I'd rather just have one goes down. I'm like, get the other one. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll deal with this flat tire later.
Yeah. 100%.
My logic for having multiple guitars is, you know, every time I have a session, I grab a different guitar, because I don't want to only be able to play my guitar.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be able to play like different guitars because they all feel a little different. So I want to just, just kind of work that in, you know, be a little more, versatile.
Great justification, Ron. I believe it 100%. Yes.
Just in case I have to, just in case I'm at a concert and like,
They need you.
they need me.
Listen, anybody that can play guitar.
Yeah, can anyone play guitar here? I can. Yeah, just like fill in. Yeah,
So it's kind of like on an airplane. If there's a medical emergency, only they're like,
right.
Can
A doctor
play
here
guitar right now.
Yeah.
Ron's like, I can.
Yeah, you gotta have backup. You gotta have backup.
The only thing that will save this man is if you can play a good riff. Oh, good news! I got you.
Hey guys, so I'm seeing that like 35% of you are not subscribed to the channel, which on one hand is great. That means that YouTube is getting us in front of new people. On the other hand, that means that we might not see each other again if you don't hit the subscribe button. We have several bodybuilding podcasts each week. We've got our reaction videos. We're doing YouTube shorts. So let me encourage you right now to subscribe and hit the bell. And if you're enjoying this show, then please hit the like button and leave us a comment.
Yes.
So Chris, about your, because something that I told you I wanted to kind of cover was, how did you figure out on the physical side? I'm working with a lot of guys and girls where they're walking away from competing. And at first, just like you said, we're all the same. Awesome. And then, like my struggle, I told you, was it was the first time in my life that I had to figure out what I wanted to look like. And I didn't even know what that would be. Like, it never crossed my mind, because you spend your whole career, essentially, you look like today, whatever you need to look perfect for the date 7 months from now or whatever that would be. Yeah. So how did you manage figuring that out? Like, was that difficult? Because like you said, you're not just going to, like, you're going to the gym and it's like, well, what am I doing this for as far as the look? How did you kind of manage through that? Was it quick? Was it difficult?
Not quick. It was initially difficult, but you know how it is. It's who you're surrounded with, right? So It's like, you start to downsize from bodybuilding, and then people in bodybuilding go, Dusty, are you okay? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, you've lost a lot of weight. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be big anymore. Oh. Right. And then people kind of look at you funny. And then all of a sudden you
must be sick.
Yeah. Well, I got that when I went from 267 to like 245 in like 3 months. People are like, yo, is everything all right? I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm done bodybuilding. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm done bodybuilding and then just like keep pushing the envelope. Like, I'm done, Mm-hmm. And that was a little weird and awkward. Like, people expect you to be a certain way. It's like, even people at the gym and you're a close crowd, like, they expect it. Your close friends are cool, of course. And your family's like, oh, you look so much better. I was so worried about you. The huge D-ball face, like pumping carbs. So that was over. And then all of a sudden you go to boxing and people are like, yo, bro, you're fucking jacked.
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
And even though it's like, well, I feel skinny as fuck. And you look at all of them and like, these dudes are like stick figures. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's all who you hang out with. But it was awkward and it was weird because we still like the look. I mean, initially, most of us anyway, we did because we're our age. We didn't have Instagram. We started lifting weights because it felt great. We liked being strong and it looked awesome to us.
Right.
And we did it for us, not for anybody else. So like, as I was coming down, I was like, man, I'm looking kind of like skinny. And then you like look at the scale, like technically we're still obese. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Morbid.
Terrible.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the crowd you're in is a big influence, and it was difficult. But like wanting to know what I look like, you don't want to like get fat. You don't want to get like soft and like have a dad bod. Like that's like not acceptable. Or at least for me personally. But then you start doing other interests, and other interests require you to look a different way because it's more performance based instead of cosmetic.
Yeah.
Right. So like boxing, people the same thing. They get in the ring and spar with me, and they'd be really intimidated at first. They're like, dude, this dude's fucking huge. And then they realize I'm slow as molasses and I get tired quick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're like, I'll box the big guy. I got that guy. And I'm like, why does everyone want to box with me? Like, that's because they know you're slow.
Yeah.
But it was difficult, man. And it still is a little bit now. I mean, like lately now, I've only been training with weights twice per week. And the most exercise I'm doing has been like cardio, functional cardio. Like I might do kettlebell swings, barbell squat supersetted with like high repetition barbell rows, and I do that in a fast circuit. Yeah. So it's like you're lifting weights, it's functional, very motocross like, but like I'm getting my heart rate up as high as I possibly can. And like half the time you're more focused on like I can't fucking breathe versus my legs giving out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you guys, like I don't want to feel stiff anymore. I'm so sick of feeling like stiff and slow. Like you got to climb under your sink to fix something, and you're like, "All right, here we go, go down." You know, I don't want to feel like that. You know,
right.
I think for the first time in like probably 20 years, I can stand up and lift my leg up and put my sock on. I would have to like sit down, put my socks on, or like use a bench to put my socks on. You know, so like it feels. I start to feel better. See, I can do more things. But I'm still, dude, we're still jacked compared to the normal person, you know?
Right.
We're just tiny in bodybuilding.
Yeah. That was the thing that I found that I didn't expect when I started shrinking. First off, because I moved. It was right after my coma, too. So here, it was the opposite, where, you know, I mean, I'm comfortable 265 versus 300, 310. And people are like, you're huge. And you're like,
yeah,
no.
What?
No, quite comfortable actually. But the big thing for me, because I haven't really gotten into a lot of other things, was I can buy clothes, and I love that.
Yes.
I'm like, I want a shirt. I'm gonna go buy one, and then just buy one, and you leave. And I'm like, that's something I forgot about, or just the fact that people used to always think I loved wearing big shirts. I'm like, no, it's just the only thing that fits. I don't choose to be sloppy. I just am.
Right.
You know, it's like, no, I can actually just go to the store, buy jeans, put them on, and be like, those work, and leave. Ron had his big breakthrough in Vegas when I was there. He shows up and he goes, I went shopping today.
I bought jeans off the rack. Yeah. They're not gas jeans.
They got to be. They have to be stretchy jeans though, because like I can't wear.
They're forgiving. They're athletic cut.
But jeans changed a lot in the last 5 years for the good.
Oh, you can't rock Levi's jeans. We can't do like the typical straight cut Levi's back in the day. You know, 34, 32. That's not going to work.
You're in Texas, so I can help you out. Boot Barn carries jeans that stretch. So
I went there.
Put them on. I'm like, they look like they're like second skin. I could put 4 inches on my quads. My jeans would still fit. Like they're amazing. I'm like, everyone they don't know the secret, and they're cheap in comparison to all the brands, because I am cheap. I'm not spending a lot of money on clothes. That's ridiculous. I'm like, $50. I'll take that.
It's also changed a lot in just the Gen Pop sense. Like when I walked into that jean store, like Emily and I were walking through the mall, and we walked past, I think it was called like Buckle or something, belt.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Buckle.
Yeah, Buckle. Yeah. We're walking past that store, and I just saw all these jeans in there, and I just thought, you know what? Let's just go have a look. And we walked in, and the sales girl looked at me, and she's like, oh, I know exactly what you're looking for. Like, she just took one look at me. She's like, oh, I got jeans for you. Wow. And she's like, anything with the athletic cut, wide leg, I can get you into all these probably. Try these on. She brought me like 10 pairs of jeans. I tried them on. I was like, oh, these are all actually awesome. And I just told Emily, pick 3. And I just turned. I'm like, which 3 should I get? I'm still not choosing my clothing. I don't want you guys
that
to
doesn't
think
happen.
Yeah. She's, you know, which pair did my butt look good in? You know, that's a type of thing. But off the rack, you know.
There's a lot of pluses. You definitely have a lot more energy. Like I can go all day and not get sleepy all day.
Right.
Before I was always like,
oh yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I haven't quite reached that. If an episode gets a little long, you can actually watch the food wear out on me. I'm like, if my head goes down for a long time, I'm actually closing my eyes.
I've actually been really surprised at how long I can go without food sometimes. Like, I quite often will go 5-6 hours without a meal, and I still feel fine, and I'm just hungry. I'm like, oh, I should eat. I'm like really hungry.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And actually yesterday morning, I didn't have any carbs with my breakfast because we were going for this brunch. So I was like, I'm going to have I'll load up on like French toast or something. So I just had egg whites for breakfast. And for the first time in, I don't know, man, it's been a couple years, I think, I went really hypo. And I haven't gone hypo in a long time. Like just that sudden feeling of like, I need some juice. and I was like sweating. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is like a bodybuilder thing. This hasn't happened to me for a while, you know? So that was interesting. But, you know, just to know it can still happen, you know?
Oh, yeah. And the other thing about dieting, like, I'm sure you got this too, Dusty, and both of you guys for coaching, is when people like stop bodybuilding, some people like just stop eating well. I'm like, I've been eating healthy vegetables, fruits, and a balanced diet for 25 years. And it's like, just because I'm not bodybuilding doesn't mean I'm going to start eating like Captain Crunch cereal for breakfast and like, you know, going to like Hot Pockets for lunch. Like, I still eat insanely healthy, and I eat 4 solid meals a day, and my carbs are moderate, and like I just eat balanced, and I feel great. I'd be like, how do you stay on track? I'm like, I don't know how you go from eating like one way for 20 years and all of a sudden you're like back to eating like a 10-year-old. You know what I mean?
If anything, I'm motivated to eat better because I'm trying to undo any like potential
100%
harm I did. Like, what about your blood work and stuff? Like, let's talk about like, did you see any transition there? Have you been monitoring that sort of stuff? Did you go for any sort of testing or?
Yeah, not nearly as much as I used to. When I was competing, means in Connecticut, you can order your own lab work. And, you know, every time Memorial Day sale went on Direct Labs, I'd buy like 5 labs for like $65. And then I would just use the labs as I go. But I would get my labs checked like almost 8 times a year sometimes, just for curiosity, being like, I wonder what it looks like the day after I stop prep. I wonder what it looks like 4 weeks into prep. I wonder what it looks like when I haven't done anything but TRT for 4 months and I'm full of calories. And it's funny, it's most of my labs in the off season on TRT were slightly worse than if I was 4 weeks out before I started orals and contest prep. It's kind of funny how that works, but I still check it now. But I will say, as I got older, hematocrit just wants to climb. It's like that didn't happen when I was younger. Yeah, it just wants faster. Yeah, it's bizarre. You know?
Do you think that comment you made about the off season versus contest blood work? Do you think that that's body weight, diet, and cardio just showing that
100%
it cleans up your blood work? Yeah,
100%.
I saw that too.
I mean, dude, I was on 600 Masteron. We can say that here. We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was on 750 test, 600 Masteron, 50 mgs of Tren every other day, injectable Winstrol, 50 mgs every other day, Proviron 50 milligrams, Arimidex 1 milligram every other day, no T3, and Quina was at 40 micrograms. And I was, I think, 5 weeks out, and I get my labs done. Hematocrit was perfect. LDL was like 67. My HDL obviously was low. It was like 17, 18. But my liver enzymes were like just a crack over normal.
Right.
And like everything else was just completely fine. And then all of a sudden, you look in the off season, it's like liver enzymes are higher. Hematocrit and hemoglobin are jacked up. LDL is like probably pushing 115. HDLs are probably creeping back up to like 31. And like LDH and other parameters of muscle breakdown might be higher, but my creatinine was completely normal. Creatinine was a little higher on the off season, but genetically, I've never seen my creatinine out of range ever once. That's just my genetics. And my blood pressure was insanely low in prep, almost low that like anytime I get off the leg curl machine and I go to stand, I need to take a minute or else I'll just fall flat my face.
No kidding.
So it's like I get that postural hypotension when my blood pressure gets low. It's genetic. My mom's incredibly overweight and she's got low blood pressure. So it's like all of a sudden I push the envelope, drop my body weight regardless of the gear or not. And like I get up really quickly off the leg curl machine. I black out.
Did you ever have a calcium score test done or anything like that?
Yeah, it was 0. It was like nothing.
Right. And when was that? Was that when you were still competing or lately?
Yep. That was 2018. I stopped in 2019. I'm sorry. I stopped bodybuilding May 2018. I've had 4 echocardiograms. All of them showed the same thing. Left ventricle wall thickness, but the chamber size is normal. My ejection fraction is normal. Everything else is normal. The third echocardiogram scared the shit out of me. My dad calls me. My dad's a physician, if you guys don't know. And he calls me. He's like, hey, I looked at your results. The doctor called me. You might have a hole in your heart. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, don't exercise. Don't exert yourself. We're redoing the echogram tomorrow. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, how is this possible? I'm like, Dad, I was like front squatting 405 for like 8 reps like last week. I didn't think I would die then.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, he goes, we just got to rule it out. Sometimes they look at something and they might see something and they just got to rule it out. Did it again and everything was fine. But my chamber wall didn't thicken more over the last 8 years. It just initially got thicker just from weightlifting.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's all the doctors you talk to too, right? The first doctor's like, I don't know what you're doing, but your left chamber wall is getting a little thick. And I'm like, it's not athlete's heart. Kind of like, your heart gets thicker when you're pushing its resistance. Kind of like road bikers,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. And the next doctor's like, you're totally fine. This is totally normal for an athlete. Thanks,
Right.
Doc. Thanks. Because the last one's had me shit myself. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're as bad as me. Every time I do my blood work, if anything was off, I'd send it to Dante. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's like, are you insane?
Yeah.
I know.
He's like, this is like blood work people dream of that are not athletes. I'm like, but this or this. And he's like, no, stop. Like
It's funny how that works because I would show up. My dad never supports what I do. Let's be clear. He just thinks I'm an idiot, but he'll give me questions and he answers them honestly. I'm like, Dad, is this really bad? And he'll make jokes. He's like, oh, you're gonna die like next week, But he's joking. And then I'll be like, no, seriously. He's like, no, really, there's nothing to worry about. Like, you're a little out of range here. He goes, but you have to look at the labs together and look at your age, look at your lifestyle and your family history. These are all things you have to consider when you look at your labs. And he goes, Chris, I don't have anybody in their 50s who can get their LDL that low without a statin. Like, nobody's getting their LDL under 100 in their 40s or 50s without a statin, unless you have genetics. But the vast majority of my patients, that's not possible. So you got to look at the ratio and look at diabetic or non-diabetic or had a heart attack, etc. So he kind of makes sense to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
I actually just had a calcium score test done. I just had my first one, and it came back. They do for those that don't know, I actually just sent it to Scott. I don't know if he wants to throw it up on the screen or not, but
Sure. You have it.
they test the 4 arteries of the heart, and 0 to 10 is nothing, and then 11 to 100 is where they're starting to see something, and then 100 to 300 is like you need to correct this, and then over 300 is like you are in big trouble. So I had 3 arteries come back at 0, and then I had 1 artery come back at 33.
Yeah.
So
which for your age is great.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
Also, so I sent it to Dante, just like Dusty said. First thing I did.
This is what we do.
Dante, I go, they're not perfect. I don't have a 0. What do I do? And Dante goes, this is dude, you were 300 plus pounds for 20 years. This is incredible.
Yeah.
He's like, I did.
And your age.
Yeah. He goes, I can help you get this down. Send me the brands of stuff you're using and all the, because I'm using citrus bergamot and krill oil and all that stuff that he's got me on. He's like, just send me the brands. We'll tweak the doses. He goes, this might have already improved from when you used to be huge. You have to also keep that in mind too. We don't know what direction this is going. Right. So he just said, let's just, get it done again, 8-9 months. That's one of my plan, and just see where we can get it. So, I mean, I've already reduced my body weight immensely, and I've already, reduced my calories and all that stuff, the retirement thing. So who knows what direction this is actually heading in. But he's like, this is nothing to worry about, man. You're like, this is pretty damn good. And then he dropped a few scores that he's seen in the last recent months from some of the guys that we know. And they were 345 one guy and a 402 on another guy, and these incredibly bad scores from some of the guys that we know. And he's like, don't worry about a 33, man. You got 3 zeros and a 33. We can improve this. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, it's the first time I had mine done,
Yeah,
that's one of those things that we try to promote, Chris, because it's a normal issue. I had a client recently, just starts with me, and he's done many shows. He's 270 plus, and I was like, all right, well, get me a blood work before we get started, because I got to kind of see where you are. And he goes, I don't really want to waste the money on a blood work. And I'm like,
oh my God, what the fuck?
I said, I'm sorry, you said waste the money. And he goes, well, I mean, I feel fine. I'm like, well, most people feel fine right before a heart attack. I'm not going to start with you if you don't get me a blood work. And he's like, well, why wouldn't you? I'm like, because if you die on my watch, I killed you, even though I didn't. So
Yeah.
gonna need that. But it's comical because I get a lot of pushback from people, and it's not optional. I'm like, if I tell you it's time for a blood work, I need it. Get it done.
And what's crazy to me is this. In the industry, people know I'm an RD, so somehow they think that I have medical experience, like I can prescribe things. I've had numerous bodybuilders contact me in acute renal failure, some chronic renal failure, and they're like, "Hey, I want you to help me get my kidneys back so I can compete again." And I look at their lab work, I'm like, "Bro, you're cooked." What do you mean I'm cooked? I'm like, "You're done. You're gonna need a kidney transplant in the next 5 years, and if you bodybuild, you're gonna need a kidney transplant in a year, or if you don't get it, you're gonna die."
Right.
Oh, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, your creatinine's 5.7. Like your BON is 80s. Like, are you serious? Did the doctor sit there and be like, "Oh no, you're good. Just go on a low protein diet for a month and you'll be fine"? Did he say that to you? I doubt he did. I doubt he gave you the riot act, being like, "Bro, you're gonna need a kidney transplant," and he's just looking at him like deer in headlights. I'm gonna talk to somebody else. You know?
Yeah. Talk to Chris, and if I don't like that answer, I'll talk to somebody else.
But it's like, but also the point I was getting at is like how many people say that, and then when something goes wrong, they're in a panic. Oh my god, is this bad? I'm like, bro, you were just the person like a year ago who you're like, I feel fine, I don't want to get blood work, and all of a sudden your LDL is like 1 point over 100, and you're having a heart attack. Like, are you serious? Like, this isn't for you.
Right. Yeah. It's a wild trend. Like it's just an interesting thing for me to watch, because what I don't like, and I understand from being in it, is you have the one track mind of what you want to do, but the confusion on the things that cause problems. You know, like you said, like it's the same thing in the off season. I remind people, like, we're at an excess of calories. This isn't even about health. This is just body fat. You're at an excess of calories. When you decide to go off the Richter multiple times a week, and then you get fatter, and then you tell me you're letting me get too fat, I'm like, no, I already have you in an excess. And then you're shooting it up 5,000 calories plus a week. Yeah, we're going to get fat. And then if I put you on a mini diet to bring you down, you're mad because we're going in the wrong direction. And I'm like, that's why everything is so structured. Because, you know, back in the day, we used to just say, like, you know, 80-20. If you're eating good 80% of the time, you're fine. The problem is now, when you're coming to a coach who's purposely putting you at a excess of calories, you can't be off 20% of the time.
No,
it's too far. So like, I really do. I limit. I hate it because sometimes our show contradicts how I coach, because things that I used to do, I'm like, no, you have one meal a week. Right. Have a life. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer, you know this, Chris, about like, there is more to life than bodybuilding. You should go out, you should be with your friends, you should have dinner, you should do all these things. But you can do that in one, max 2 meals a week and still be a great bodybuilder. You know, I do it now. Ron and I have a running joke. I don't ever want to feel full for the rest of my life. I've felt full for a decade, stuffed, in fact. If I eat one bite too many, I'm irritated with myself. I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I don't want to be full. And I want people to kind of understand that, both while they're in prep and as they're transitioning away from the sport, because that's where, like you were talking about the lifestyle stuff, I feel like that's an area where, you know, I'm curious for you, when you look back at your career, could you have been as successful in bodybuilding and also had a little more of the things you enjoy now, or not?
I would have had more success in bodybuilding if I didn't get in bad relationships.
Oh, you know what? That really is like, that like voids like 200 of our episodes.
Yeah, exactly. We're done here.
Needless chatter.
Yeah. Outside of bad relationships, just wasting so much of my youth years and my body being in the longevity, but that's besides the fact. But to what you were saying, I was very a strict person, Dusty. Mm-hmm. So, and if I ate out, it would be a good version of eating out, like Mediterranean food, or I would just make my own salmon and rice and sourdough bread at home, which is a larger portion. It wouldn't be like Meat Lovers deep dish pizza, breadsticks, and a pineapple Ben & Jerry's ice cream. That's not what it would be, because as you guys know, that's going to wreck your appetite for 3 days, and then you feel like a giant piece of shit. But it's funny. It's the same conversation I have with my clients. It's like, they go from dieting and careful with their meal off plan to an excess of calories, thinking it's time to gain, to eating multiple meals off plan that are worse than they were when they're dieting. Like, do you understand? If you're in excess of calories and you eat off plan big, that's all going to fat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're already in excess.
But one more thing about the balance.
Yeah.
I think looking back, I could have had more mental balance and still be able to make the progress that I did. You know what I'm talking about, guys? Where like mentally you think these things are going to hold you back, but in reality they don't at all. Travel. Like if you're like, we can all travel with food, we've done it. Or like if we stay out a little hour later than normal, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Once a week. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I was a little too rigid in that. Or like meal 2 had to be at 10 a.m. You know, because it had to be 91 minutes before I trained. Like being rigid like that, I didn't need to be.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of why I asked. Is it's getting people to, you know, it's such a tricky point, and that's what I was curious with your clients as well, because adherence is a must to be successful, you know, but at the same time, you want them to not have a one-track mind. Because like I look back now for myself, and if I would have died while I was bodybuilding with just a little glimpse at what my life would have been had I lived longer, I think I would have been disappointed in my choices. Like I loved bodybuilding. I had no, like, I mean, I don't look back with a single regret for all the time and things I do, but you couldn't pay me to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I just told somebody that the other day, they're like, have you ever thought about competing? I'm like, if you guaranteed me $200,000 cash to do a show, I would tell you no. I don't want to give up the time to do that again, even if I couldn't make the $200,000 in another way. I'm like, no, because when my daughter comes home and says she wants to go do something, I'm like, sure, let's go. Whatever diet I'm on is out the window for 1 hour. You know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting to kind of figure those things in, because looking back now, Jose actually taught me on the road that when I was just a little looser, like you said, with the obsession of timing and sleep and all these things, I actually got better.
Yeah. It's almost like the mental expectation that you put on yourself and the pressure, almost, I don't know, cortisol issues, or you can't be as restorative sleep. It affects something. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what would be, if you were doing the bodybuilding again, what would be the one training change you would make?
Oh my God.
You had to pick one main training, sort of maybe a philosophical training change or an actual specific training change. Is there something that you would do differently?
Only one?
We're trying to try to get into rapid fire here. So yeah, well, maybe name a couple. Yeah.
No. All right. I mean, you guys all probably say this. If I knew now what I knew when I first started bodybuilding in 2004, I would be so much further along with less injuries, less effort, and more results. But training like an absolute asshole. Like I ignored so many warning signs to stop. And I'm like, don't be a pussy. Yeah. Put on another plate and train. And I was basically just moving weight, mechanically moving weight, obnoxious weight with because my legs were very strong at my strongest. And like I was doing 9 plates on hack squat, like with knee wraps really tight and my belt really tight, coming down, you know, squatting 495, like just, and I would squat every week. And I had to squat every week, and I had to try to beat it every week, and deadlift the day after. Had to be able to do 455 for reps. Like, and it just like, and my body would tell me like SI joint pull out, my knees would ache, my knees would swell. I'll be like, oh my God, I hope my knees are less swollen for next week's leg day. You know what I mean? Not thinking like maybe what I'm doing is hurting me, and that's gonna eventually snowball where I can't do anything. And it eventually did. But I would train like a damn bodybuilder and focus on lifting. How Joe Bennett say it? He says, you lift with you. Every exercise should have a distinct purpose where you're trying to target a certain muscle and you're trying to create mechanical tension on that muscle to get to respond. The objective is not just to move the most amount of weight you can between point A and point B by positioning your body in the most advantageous place. And that's what I used to do. It's like, why can't I get my upper chest to grow? Probably because you're arching your back like this. And that's what I was doing, just to lift heavier weight in the bench.
Right.
That's fundamental. I feel if I changed only that, I would have been progressed so much better, because when I stopped somewhat training like that, I went from like winning my class to winning 2 overalls and getting my pro card within a year and a half. My body just changed like that. But that's definitely what it would be.
Okay.
We've got a bunch of them, like rapid fire questions. These will be great for YouTube Shorts, by the way, guys.
Okay.
What do you think about the post show rebound? Is it overrated or underrated?
It's overrated and misunderstood. The post show rebound, and vast majority of people in cases, you're just gaining water in the cells in the body, and you're just getting fat. I mean, the body's not exactly ready for a major growth phase when you go from extremely high androgens, extremely high fatigue, and then all of a sudden you go low androgens back to TRT, or say none, and then you eat all this food. Everybody's like, I didn't look like this 2 weeks ago. And they're forgetting that their glutes are soggy, and their abs are holding water, but their arms and their chest look bigger in the mirror. But I've seen people grow. I've grown a little bit post-show rebound, but in most of the cases, that's not the time and the place to do it. The time and the place to do it is like 8 to 10 weeks post-show, where you recover your labs, you rest the body, rinse off the fatigue, get your body used to lower androgens, and then you're ready for a whole push. Instead of pushing it hard 10 weeks post-show, get super fat, and by the time you're 10 weeks post-show, it's time to come off cycle. Now you're chubby, now your joints hurt, you're achy, sleep's gone to shit again, and your labs are a disaster. And then now you have another 9 months of off season to correct, but now you're a chubby, achy mess. Whew. I blacked out.
Okay. I love it.
That was good. That was good.
That was good. Yeah.
How about this one? When it comes to prep, what are some tips and tricks that everybody could do? Hold on a second. Let me read that again. What kind of tips and tricks does everyone do and say to yourself during the tough times? Or what advice would you give?
I'm very bad at that, because I've never once in my life ever thought about quitting a prep. I've been one of those people that is flicking sweet potatoes out the window because I don't feel shitty enough. I was that guy. Or someone goes, you're doing 60 minutes of cardio. I'm like, I'm doing 65. That's always been me. So like, that's hard, but I just know that it's a part of the game. But I'll change that real quick to tips and prep to make it better and more tolerable. Is get a consistent sleep schedule, manage fatigue, don't put too much pressure on yourself, and avoid stressful situations. If you can do those, your body's just going to respond so much better. If your sleep's disrupted, your sleep's sporadic, you can't manage fatigue, you're putting unnecessary expectations on yourself, you're never going to get in shape like you could, or it's going to be like pulling teeth.
Yep. All right. How about this one? Bodybuilding falls off post-show, and now it's 6 months later, but needs to grow more size to be good. What do you do?
Bodybuilding falls off, meaning like he stops bodybuilding?
It sounds like I'm guessing he's saying like, yeah, he isn't going to quit his focus. He's probably not getting all his food in. Yeah, lost his focus. Probably isn't in the best shape anymore. Missed the whole rebound thing we were talking about and all that.
I say in situations like that, like, you can't, there's reward driven, and then there's people that are in love with the journey. If you're doing something where you're only reward focused, unfortunately, it's going to be very short lived for you, because it's only going to last you so long. So if you're focused in front of the mirror because you're getting leaner and leaner, and as soon as you're not, you just kind of lose that motivation, then your mindset's in the wrong place. I would suggest try changing a gym, changing your training program, maybe even changing a coach, even if it's a good coach or not, just to re-spark more drive. And if you really like what you're doing, you like your lifestyle, you like your nutrition, then you're going to stick to it. So look at what you're doing and see what you can do to improve it. Because I love the diet. I love the training. So if you love those two, everything else should coincide with the same. And if you don't love them, figure out why.
Yeah, I have to add something here. Because I hear people say, oh, I really need a show to focus on. I want to do another show.
Yeah.
I need a show to focus on. And I think that that's a red flag for you're doing it for the wrong reasons, I
agree.
And that's completely and absolutely reinforced by my retirement hobby choices that you see on the wall behind me, because I get absolutely no outside reward from any of the I post the odd little guitar clip on my story, but like I it's all just for me, and it's me that wants to go play for 45 minutes before bed, and I plug in my headphones and I jam, and it's just for me, and I'm not doing it for, you know what I mean? And that just reinforces what sort of mindset you need to be in if you're going to be a bodybuilder. Like that's what it's a mindset I always had as a bodybuilder, it was just like, I want to do this,
Right. Yeah.
And so if you need a show to focus on, it's a red flag that there's a problem.
Yeah.
Instagram makes that complicated. Instagram makes it complicated today. We didn't have that when we were younger. It was just, we're doing it for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I got two more. What do you guys think about wearables like the Oura Ring, now having the ability to use pulse wave velocity to show things like arterial stiffness? Is this potentially useful information for our population, or is it just more fiddly data that nobody really needs?
I mean, my opinion, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about the gadgets, but I can say that it's paralysis by analysis. Some people can probably do okay with it. Some people are going to obsess about it, and it's going to create more negativity and hypochondriac, being a hypochondriac. Like, I mean, when people track their sleeps all the time, and like, I'm like, dude, just go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. Like, put all your energy and your focus into your training. Put all your focus and your energy into making your meals the way you like them, so you hold your appetite and help digestion. Like, stop worrying about your heart rate varying five beats per minute difference every morning. Like, it's just, there's only so much bandwidth your brain can take and focus on. Focus on what matters and get your regular checkups, go through your doctor, etc. That's my opinion on it.
Okay, I lied. I got two more because somebody who's one of your followers wanted you to speak on CPAPs. What's your thought on CPAPs overall?
Oh, it's a life changer. I couldn't sleep for shit. I was so tired. At one point, I was so sleep deprived. I was like panicking. Like, I was just constant panicking, anxiety. And I was waking up like every second going, like having dreams I was drowning. And the second I got my CPAP, I have a nose pillow, and I clench at night, so I don't have to worry about breathing through my mouth. And the lady's like, it's going to take a little bit to get used to, Chris. It's very difficult. I'm like, I'm scuba certified. I know what it's like to breathe through a mask. I'm like, I'm sure it'll be all right. First night, blacked out. Woke up 5.5 hours later, and I was like, is this what people are supposed to feel like? I feel unbelievable. I like it so much. I bought a second machine out of pocket cash. So I have a backup machine because I'm so paranoid about not having it. That's how I feel about it.
It's like you were in stasis for like 5 years. Just
100%. Oh my gosh. I put it on. It's like, how cold.
That's
crazy.
Amazing. All right, one more, and this is a good one for a registered dietitian. Why don't we hear about people using quinoa in bodybuilding?
It's a good question. Most likely probably because the fiber content and protein. So like, not that mixed carbohydrate sources are a problem, but like when you're manipulating macros easily and you have to reduce your quinoa, you're going to be increasing your chicken. Or if you're increasing your carbohydrates to an insane amount, you might have to decrease your chicken. So it's like, it's just easier to manipulate. But again, quinoa is a good add-on. Say if it's the end of the night, you're dieting and you have a limited amount of calories and you stay fuller, have a higher fiber intake, great. But nobody's going to be eating 8 cups of quinoa a day. And most bodybuilders are always about, how do I make this as easy as possible? So like the second you tell them to eat all these different carb sources, they're going to be like, can I just make white rice every day and eat it for breakfast? So in my opinion, that's the problem. There's nothing wrong with it. It can be incorporated, but you just have to work a little bit harder with adjustments in the nutrition. And a lot of people don't like it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but eating 2 cups of quinoa is not nearly as, it's much harder to eat than 2 cups of white rice.
Yeah, I'd agree.
You described my whole life there, Chris. Like, what's the easiest way to do this? When clients want like variety, that's painful to me. Like, if I could literally eat 3 sources of food all day, that would be great. I don't care. Great. Chicken, white rice, and almond butter. Great. I'll eat. I don't even like almond butter. I'll take it. That's fine. Like, Make it easy. Tomorrow, have more of the same stuff because it's a high day. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. That leads me to this one. What do you think is the most overlooked micronutrient for bodybuilders?
Oh, individual micronutrient? I don't know about that. I just know that bodybuilders do not get enough variety of fruits and vegetables. Ultimately, the thing that I always find a major problem is, as you know, Ron, it's like once the diet becomes extremely lacking of variety, you kind of starve out your gut microbiome and then eventually have a lot of digestive issues. And then, you look at their diet and it's just like green beans once per day, nothing but white rice, maybe whole eggs, some meat, and that's all they eat for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And they have digestive problems. And then they just don't have a variety. And I'm like, as soon as I start incorporating a variety in smaller increments over time, their gut gets better, their appetite gets better, everything gets better. But ultimately, I think it's just the ultimate overall lack of variety, not enough prebiotic rich foods. I don't like prebiotic supplements. I just don't. I think prebiotic rich foods work way better. And then, of course, the variety of fibers to help your gut stay acclimated to a more diverse population. Is the more diverse it is, the more food you can break down and assimilate.
Right.
I get my case in point. I had ulcerative colitis. I was shitting blood and mucus 14 times a day. I don't have that in my family. The doctor goes, your biopsy is so bad, I don't know if you have Crohn's or you have UC. You have characteristics of both. And I asked him, I'm like, oh, what do I need to change? He goes, nothing. You need medication. Stick this in your ass. And it's a suppository. It's going to cost $1,000 a month if your insurance doesn't cover it. I'm like, wonderful. Didn't work. And long story short, I eventually just figured it out my own. And I did it to myself. Poor sleep, pushing my body too hard, not managing fatigue, lack of variety in the diet over long periods of time, and with having a little bit of history of IBS in my family. And I just crucified my digestive system. And then when I started to think about my nutrition, look at my diet and start to incorporate more of a variety, reduce the calories to ease, let the gut rest. Yeah. Dude, I can eat a whole box of Brussels sprouts and not fart at all. It's like back in the day, if I had like 2 pieces of broccoli, I'd be like, oh my God, my stomach hurts. Like, oh my God, I can't eat this. It's like, I've been able to diversify my gut so much, the variety of food. I go out to eat. I don't have problems anymore. I used to have a disaster problems next day. And I get tons of bodybuilders be like, oh, every time I have this food, my stomach hurts for like 3 days. I can't eat that. I can't eat this. I'm like, dude, that's not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Glad I was
born. What about you, Ron? What do you think is missing micronutrient?
Well, I just think bodybuilders don't get enough fiber. I think that the science we see on how, a higher fiber intake is, linked to lower incidence of every single disease. Like every single possible thing that can go wrong with you is linked to a low fiber diet. Right. And so guys are like, oh, I had a bit of green beans with one of my meals. And I'm like, that's good. I have 40 grams of fiber in my nighttime shake. 40. Like your entire daily recommended minimum is in my nighttime shake. And then I get up in the morning and I use the washroom and I feel like $1,000,000. I have 0 gut problems ever. I just have no idea what it's like to have a gut problem. People tell me about, oh, my stomach hurts if I eat chicken. I'm like, what? That's not normal.
It's not normal.
Oh, I can't. Oh, I had a burger the other day and I paid for it. And I'm just like, that's not normal, man. Your stomach's a vat of acid. You should be able to put anything in it. It should just disappear on you. You know what I mean? I just vat of acid.
I like that visual.
It's a vat of acid. Just like you should be able to put anything in your stomach. It should digest. So there's a problem. If you have gut problems, you have a problem you shouldn't have.
Right. And essentially of us being healthy men, healthy bodybuilding men. Yeah. We're not 90-year-olds with like a colon resection. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I have 40 grams of fiber. I use a product called Daily Cleanse, which has probiotics in it, has some essential fats in it. It's got some it's a bit of it's not just fiber. It's like jacked up a little bit. It's a juiced up version of Metamucil, and it's got some other stuff in it that's really great for you. But I have a giant double scoop serving in my nighttime shake with my whey, and that's what I go to bed on. And man, I love that. I take it when I travel. If I forget it and I go on a road trip, I know it changes my life if I forget to take it with me. Like it is awesome. And so I recommend that. That's fiber intake is just, it's not high enough for most people.
especially the amount of calories they're consuming. You know, you could sound
Yeah,
like
it's relative, right?
Yeah.
It's relative to how much food you're eating. Yeah.
And people always look at green bean like, green bean's got fiber. I'm like, yeah, it's got like 3 grams of fiber, like 3. There's not very much in your portion, pal. It's not like oat bran or something big, you know?
Yeah, they say 30 grams a day for like the average person is like, and like just think if you're eating 3 or 4 times the average person, you should be taking in more fiber. So
yeah, correct. Yeah. Right. And it's, you know, it's funny. There's a lot of negative connotation on fiber too. Sometimes is because like, oh, it's going to make me feel full and I'm not going to be able to eat. I'm like, no. I understand what you're saying, but the lack of fiber is going to make it harder for you to deal with anything because like you said, you don't have the fibers your gut's used to, and then you have fibers can be a problem or you're going to start developing other digestive issues. It's like your gut's just inflamed, you know?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Yeah. I asked Milos and I go, Milos, did you guys have digestive issues back in the day? And he's like, oh, man, he goes, I know Mike Francois had some issues. And I go, but did you ever have any? And he goes, what do you mean digestive issues? And I'm like, never mind. Okay. Never mind.
He was confused by your question.
Yeah. And then I'm like, did you eat like a big variety of food? He's like, constantly. I'm like, So you didn't eat chicken every single meal all day long? He goes, no, I'd be doing elk. And I went through a wild game phase. And, you know, Milos does his wild stuff. He's like, I was doing egg whites and then salmon and then steak and then chicken. Everything was a variety. And I'm like, there's a lot to be said about variety. You know what I mean? It's like your brain, right? You do 2 things all the time, eventually become retarded. You have Alzheimer's, you know? And then you expose more, you know, am I allowed to say that? Can't say that, right?
You can say anything you want.
I've been trying to bring it back, so I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Like that should be brought back in, you know?
Oh, I know.
I think part of the problem is people are, and like, I know that we're all in the coaching business, but people are overly reliant on the diet that is written for them. And what I mean by this is like, as a coach, I'll tell people like, okay, you know, you can have 150 grams of white rice, or you could have this many grams of potato. And then they'll say, well, can I have yams? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'd have, you know, just translate the carbs. You could have yams if you want. But there's a lot of people out there that are, I don't know if it's an OCD thing, but they just want to be like to the sheet, you know, whereas like when I worked with Aceto, for instance, Aceto would say, have a cup of rice with meal 2. And I knew that meant, or 8 ounces of potato, or I could have some yams, or I could work in some cream of rice. So I had this natural variety just based on, he'd say, hey, have 8 ounces of chicken before bed. And I'd say, oh, I'm going to have some fish. And he'd be like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Like, so every client that I work with, I tell them at the beginning of the diet, if we're going to use a lean meat here, I'll have it written where it says like, you know, chicken breast, 99% fat-free ground turkey, turkey breast, light fish, cod, tuna, tilapia, etc. And then it never fails that 8 weeks later they say, oh my God, I am so sick and tired of eating chicken. Can I please eat something else? I'm like, what? We had this talk. But they forget that it's there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So that's
important though. As a coach, I think that's one thing you have to remember. And Nick even reminds me is after 20 years of doing this, you have to erase what you think everyone knows. Because it's very basic. You know, like you said, Ron, like when I'm typing a diet, I will write the word chicken because it's just fast.
Yeah.
But what I really mean is white meat.
Yeah.
You know, low fat protein is essentially there.
Can I have turkey? I'm like, but 99.99% the same DNA.
Because on the other end of the spectrum, you know, I had a client just barely, and I'm looking at his weight, and I'm like, something's off. And I said, what's going on with the diet? Something's off. Are you not getting sleep? Are you under stress? What's happening? Oh, I got bored with the chicken. So I just started adding barbecue sauce. And I'm like,
masterpiece.
Yeah.
We're best barbecue sauce they make.
and it was funny because, and it, you know, I mean, and I was thinking, oh, okay. You know, because you're like, why did we pause? And he's not somebody who's cheating or not knowledgeably cheating, but he was. You know, so there's certain things people don't realize, or, you know, I mean, I've been out to dinner with a friend and, you know, she's like, well, I'm trying to keep it tight, you know, so we're ordering food. And she's like, can I have the Caesar salad? I'm like, oh, like pause. I'm like, why don't you just order a cheesecake?
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if you're getting the Caesar salad, you might as well just get the cheesecake. And then because they have no idea of those things. So I do like to keep that in mind when you're doing these things, because a lot of people, it's not common knowledge. You know, it's the same thing. People, do you eat protein? Yeah, I eat nuts all the time. You're like,
oh yeah, oh please. It's I think it's like the older generation. My parents are still there. Like peanut butter, that's a protein source.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me this one time, and you guys will love this, but it just clicked forever. This guy goes, if it had a mother, it's protein. I'm like, oh. And I mean, obviously there's outliers that come into the game, but I just laughed immediately. I was like, wow, that's a very easy way of rolling with it. Like, I mean, whey protein essentially, if you want to get down to it. So, but anyhow,
once have a face.
I wanted to go off subject for just a second because I find it fascinating. How did you become the dog father?
Well,
he has 6 dogs.
I didn't even know this.
Oh my goodness!
How did I not know all 6?
Open up your text there, Scott. I sent you a photo, 2 photos, so he couldn't get all 6 in one.
Oh, man, we're dog people here.
This would be great to finish on.
I got to derail this because.
Oh my god!
Pull these up, Scott.
So I got to get them both. I got to get them both.
Introduce us to these.
Geez.
Hold on, we're getting the other. Let me bring this down. Oh my gosh! Everybody gets a space. There we go.
All right, so here we go. It's a progression, like bodybuilding. There's a progression, right? You don't just one day decide on 6 dogs. You know, it's like one day you decide on benching, 600 pounds. So, for those who don't know, I grew up with like 37 animals. So like we had 4 dogs, 9 cats, parrots, iguanas, fish, rabbits, llamas, donkeys, horses, miniature horses. That was my life growing up. So like my house was like the cool house to go to. Every kid wanted to come over and like, oh, let's go to Chris's house. It's like Dr. Doolittle's house, and like get to play with all the animals, And there's always, and my mom was always like so lenient. It's like, oh, we can go ride the donkeys,
Right.
And they would be trying to kick us or bite us and run from us to be fun. But so I love dogs, and through my divorce, my first marriage, Moo, the one that's the small dog that's all the way to the right, is Moo.
Yep.
And that was actually my ex-wife's dog. And in the divorce, she was like, we need to split things. What do you want? And I go, listen, I'll make a deal. I go, I get Moo and you can keep everything. I get my car, the bed, and Moo. And she goes, and I go, or if you want to split the house. And then she goes, oh, you can have Moo.
I love it.
Fucking so I'll tell you this. I never liked little dogs. I didn't like them at all. I didn't want anything to do with them. I thought they were worthless. I didn't think they served any purpose. They had to be taken care of. But that little dog changed my life. That little dog would wait for me every day, come home from work. She wouldn't go to the couch until I was done cooking and I was sitting down. She'd jump my lap. And like, how do you not love an animal that loves you so much? And I'm like, this dog's cool as fuck. Now, then I became in love with the dog. I love this dog. And now it's like my baby. I want to protect her, and she's cool. And at the time, I had a black lab who passed away, and Moo loved the black lab too. Would always curl up to him and sleep. So Foster. So I got Moo, and during the divorce, I had to move and live with my friend's house. And he's like, "Dude, you can't take the big dog." He goes, "Moo's fine." So Moo came and lived with me in his side room, and she got very depressed because Foster wasn't there, and she was by herself. And I felt so bad. And I'm like, I got to get another dog. So I got Stuart, the one that's in the black. And Stuart became like Moo's best friend. And then Moo became happy again because I was worried about my dog's happiness, as some of us are. We were worried about them being sad or depressed. So that happened. And then Lexi and I got together. Lexi actually helped me pick Stuart. So Lexi and I were together when we got Stuart and Moo. And then another time goes by. I'm like, man, these little dogs are so much fun. They're so cool. Let's get another one. So we got the brown one. We got the brown one, Wilson, after Castaway, the volleyball.
Yeah.
Because he's not very smart. He's funny as hell, but he's not smart at all.
It's okay.
Doesn't understand anything. So Wilson's the perfect name for him. And then what was the next progression? And then the next progression was I was like, present giving gives me anxiety. Like my wife's so good at giving presents, and I'm like, my wife loves dogs, and then she kept talking about another dog, and I was like, hey, I got an idea. She's like, what? I'm like, what if I got you another dog and it'd be a combined birthday present and Christmas present together? And that's so much relief for me. And I'm like, and she's like, I would love that. I'm like, yes. We can cross off this year as a successful present giving year. And then we got Bird. Bird was the white small one in the middle.
Oh,
so
Bird's a cutie. Is that a boy or girl?
Yeah, girl. So Move's a girl, Bird's a girl, Stuart's a boy, and Wilson's a boy. So when Foster passed away, we had all of those when we had Foster. When Foster passed away, we went a long period of time without any big dog, and it was very sad in the house. The presence of a big dog is just, it's not the same. So we're so used to having that. So we ended up getting Nala, who's a rescue, and she got found, hit by a car, broke her hips in her back of her legs. And somebody just took her and said she was such a sweet dog. They funded all the surgeries, like $5,000 worth of the surgery, and did the surgery and put her into foster care to try to find a home for her. And nobody wanted her. And we ended up taking her, and then she ended up being like one of the best dogs I've ever had. And then sure enough, down the line from Stephanie, she owns, I'm having a blank, Dusty.
Alpha
What's
Rescue.
the name of the rescue? Yeah.
Yep.
And then we got Jeff. His name is Jeff. And Jeff is Nala's buddy now. And that was the progression.
And Jeff is the shepherd?
Jeff, yeah. Jeff is the dog to the left.
Yeah, the white one.
Oh, the white one.
The white one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also not intelligent. he means well.
There's more than brains
yeah.
in the world, you know?
Yeah. He means well, and he's like a very sweet dog, but he might be the dumbest dog I've ever come across.
Only a good dad can talk that way, so it's fine because it's with
Dusty,
love.
Whenever we're like in the kitchen, he's doing something weird. I'm like, man, that dog's. I can understand why somebody probably got rid of him in the litter. They're like, he's very odd looking, he's awkward, and he's just not smart. They're like, this guy's not going to make it. We're not going to be able to sell him.
He's like Bart Simpson over in the corner, just sticking the fork in the outlet. Ow, ow. Like, oh man.
Oh, you want to throw the dogs? Oh, here's Jeff.
There.
He's got a tie. Come here, Jeff. Jeff. Nope. He's running away. He's retarded. Come here, Jeff.
Come on, buddy. Get on the show. Get on the show.
Jeff.
There he is.
Oh goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh goodness.
Tie. I love it.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. So you must love coming home after a long day away when they just all. That's just a lot.
Oh, well, you know what's funny? Jeff doesn't react. That's why he thinks he's not smart. Like he looks at everybody else like, why is everybody so excited? I don't understand.
He's always here. Maybe he's smarter than everyone. Maybe that's a thing. He's so smart. He's like,
could be it.
Yeah, he's gonna come home after he rides the dirt bike. It's no big deal.
He comes home every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other day, we're all on the couch, all light out, and all 6 dogs on the couch.
Yes.
And Jeff starts to lean, and you see him. I'm looking at him like, this dude's gonna fall off the couch, and his head goes like this, and he just slides off the couch and goes boom, and then there's no movement. And I look at my wife, I'm like, did you just see that? And she goes, yeah. And then all of a sudden, Jeff picks his head up and he just goes, bam. I'm like, what a bizarre dog. You know when dogs fall, they usually panic. They're like,
Yeah.
they're like, for game. Nothing. He had no bones in his body. He's like slid off the couch.
He's like one of those people that's worked like an office job their whole life and they just don't care about anything. And they're just like,
yeah.
I guess I just got shot. Like that type of thing. Yeah. You see that movie character?
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
he
I
reminds
had
me
to
of
bring
big-
it up
big-
because I saw. So we're actually having Duke and Stephanie on the show next week.
Awesome.
So
They're great people.
Yeah,
Great
we're
people.
going to bring them in because he's also I prep him too, so he's getting ready for a show, doing all those things. So the focus is actually going to be more on how you balance it all because you know how this works. I hate when someone says, "Well, I'm really busy." I'm like, I know people that are busier. You know, so have them on. But I actually, when you guys picked up Jeff, I saw it. I'm like, wait a minute, is that Tuttle? Because I'm watching the video and I was like, oh, that is.
Oh, that's great. So we're motivated to get a second dog right now. We've got the one dog, and he's getting older, and he just went through a surgery and he recovered amazingly well. And we thought, well, yeah, he's 12, and we thought, we should really get him a second. We should really get him a buddy for, 12. Yeah, let's give him like something extra for he's how long do dogs live? We're hoping to get 15 out of him. It'd be great. And he's very healthy, and we just thought it's time for us to quit being lazy.
It'll make him young. It'll make him young again too.
It really will. It really will.
Yeah. And it really comes down to us being the reason that we don't have a second one. We got to commit to putting in that extra bit of effort to have a second dog. And so any tips?
Yeah, get a rescue that's like a year old.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah,
because Jeff came already potty trained.
Oh yeah,
it's just easy. And he went into the house, and because he's lacking brain power, he just follows Nala wherever she goes. So it's like, hey Nala, go outside. Jeff goes outside. Hey Nala, come inside. Jeff comes inside.
Right.
Hey Nala, it's time to eat. Jeff eats. And so everything's easier when there's a second dog, because the first dog usually, the new dog usually follows the lead of the other dog.
Yeah.
Right. Who's the boss out of all six? That's my only question.
Nala's the boss. Nala has a very interesting relationship with the small dogs. Like, she doesn't try to play with them, but she thinks they're funny. Like, they'll attack her, and she just kind of like will poke them in the butt and kind of nudge them, and they get all mad, and just walks away. I think she gets comedy out of it. But but she's definitely the boss. If she wants a toy, she'll just go grab it and walk away, and they'll go bullshit, and she's like, yeah, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I'm doing the trip first weekend of July to the rescue to go meet and hopefully bring home one. So if all goes well, yeah, we need same thing. We have the two little ones, so it's time to bring a big one in and let them have fun. Harvey needs a dog that will run with him, because our younger dog doesn't. You throw the ball, she chases him, not the ball. And she does it twice, and then she's like, "You keep bringing it back. I'll just stay here and just watch it."
We're getting close. We're getting close ourselves. We're thinking about it, and we lost our pit bull. She was 13. Thank you. Yeah, back in February. And it's funny because my wife had never had big dogs, and she met Betsy and absolutely fell in love with her. So now we need a new pit bull in the house. So she doesn't want anything else. She wants a pit bull. Go with our little miniature schnauzer.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thanks for everything, Chris. I mean, you gave us a ton of your time. We really appreciate this. This is the longest we've had a guest on in ages. We usually feel sorry for them at the 60-minute mark.
No, dude, this is fun. Well, first off, it's not like I get to see you guys at shows all the time and catch up. So it's like, it's kind of like talking with your friends and catching up and seeing what's going on and having good discussions. So like, I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. And really, I meant what you said. You look like $1 million. It's great to see, like I sort of take the retirement thing as, I want to be a good role model for the other guys that are looking to, step away from the stage, like we've all seen guys that just stop training completely. Like they don't care at all. And they just eat like shit. And, their health gets worse and like all that stuff. And like putting up my calcium score, trying to show people like you can really be healthy and like take the steps and have fun and do other stuff and all that sort of stuff. So it was really great to kind of run through that with you. And hopefully it's motivation for some other guys out there that are kind of at that stage in their life where they're ready to, say, you know what, it's been great, but there's other things I got to do, that sort of stage. And we know what it's like to go through that. So appreciate 100%. Your time, man. Any final words?
No, it's great. And just for those of you guys who are, transitioning, it's just like Ron said, it's like we've transitioned too, and it's possible, but you just got to kind of relate to people like us and see what we're doing to get some ideas to find new passions, because you can't relate and stay driven with the same crowd who are still competing. You're still going to feel the emptiness. It's okay to branch off and do other things and meet new people. And that's the price of life, man. Just doing different things and experiences.
Yeah. And they say, the 30 is or 40 is the new 30, and like all that stuff. The times are changing, but I like to say to people that are nervous about stepping away from this stage, like, you have no idea how great it can be. As great as the competing was, and as like fired up as you were, you can get that again in another way. Like, it's not like it has to go to the wayside and it's on to like just like doing your office job.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's new fire out there. There's night vision goggles and dirt bikes.
Super cool.
And so shooting from moving cars and all sorts of fun stuff.
Everything you dreamed of as a kid, it's all going to happen.
As a kid, yeah.
Anytime I have somebody visit me, I'm like, tonight, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off all the lights in the house, and I'm going to give you the night vision. And then I'm like, all right, you ready? All right, I'm turning it on. And they're like, whoa. And they're like, this is crazy.
Right. Now go run around the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, what was funny is the dude I bought him from, he had an extra pair, and he was a guy I used to box with, and he's like, bro, me and my buddies would put them on and go hiking in the woods at like midnight in the middle of the night. And he goes, no flashlights. He goes, 5 of us, we go just walk through the woods. He goes, it's wild. And I'm like, he's like, come over tonight. So him and I are walking around his neighborhood like looking around. I'm thinking the neighbors being like, look at these two lunatics, like walking on the street.
Definitely doing B&Es. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Great.
Okay. Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for coming on. Remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Yes, IamMutant.com. Born Hardcore. Get your all in. Get your ISO surge, and everyone should get on the gear. Dusty 20, Big Ron 20. Don't forget the codes. And remember, everybody, Chris Tuttle. Find him on Instagram. What's the IG? Just so you spell it out right.
ChrisTuttle.rd.
Okay, there you go.
It'll be in the description.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All that important stuff they actually taught you in school that is completely irrelevant to bodybuilding. Okay, remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.